Gisella, you're already here all day, Amanda said, setting her designer purse on my kitchen counter. The girls need someone after school, and honestly, daycare is what, $2,000 a month? She smiled, like she was doing me a favor. But she wasn't. She was assigning me a job. The coffee mug in my hand grew heavy. I'd been up since 5, preparing breakfast for 4 people who weren't supposed to still be living in my house. My knees ached from scrubbing their bathroom the night before. My back stiff from sleeping on the pull-out couch I'd given up so they could have the master bedroom. It had been 18 months since my son Michael and his wife moved into my 3-bedroom ranch house. 18 months since they'd shown up with 2 suitcases and a story about black mold in their rental. "Just until we sort things out, Mom," Michael had said, hugging me tight. "You're a lifesaver." I'd believed them. Now, watching Amanda scroll through her phone while discussing my schedule like I was the hired help, I wondered when exactly I'd stopped being Michael's mother and become their unpaid staff. "The bus drops them at 3:15, Amanda continued, not looking up. "Sophie has soccer Tuesdays and Thursdays. Emma has piano on Wednesdays. You'll need to handle dinner on the nights we work late, which is most nights, honestly." "Oh, and Michael's mom," she caught herself, laughed. "I mean, obviously you know you're Michael's mom." I meant, "Can you do their laundry? The washer here is so much better than what we had." The washer I'd bought with my first retirement check. "Amanda," I started, but she was already moving toward the door, keys jangling. "You're the best, Gisella. Seriously, I don't know what we'd do without you." The door clicked shut before I could respond. I stood in my kitchen, the kitchen where I'd raised Michael alone after his father died, where I'd packed his school lunches for 12 years, where I'd celebrated every birthday and holiday. Now it smelled like Amanda's vanilla latte and felt like a place I was visiting rather than living in. The arrangement had started simply enough. Michael had always been a good son, thoughtful, called every Sunday. When he'd married Amanda 5 years ago, I'd welcomed her warmly, tried to build a relationship despite her coolness toward me. She was polished, ambitious, always dressed like she was about to close a deal, which she usually was. Real estate in our county had been booming, and Amanda rode that wave with impressive determination. When they'd asked to move in temporarily, I'd seen it as a chance to help, to be useful. Michael had looked so stressed, talking about the mold inspection and remediation costs. Amanda had touched my arm and said, "Just a few months, Gisella. We'll be out of your hair before you know it." But a few months became 6. Then a year. Then longer. At first, I didn't mind. I loved having Sophie and Emma around, their laughter filling rooms that had been too quiet since I'd retired. I'd been an accountant for 37 years, methodical and independent, but retirement had left me unmoored. Having purpose again felt good, even if that purpose was making after-school snacks and helping with homework. But somewhere along the way, helping became expecting, asking became telling, gratitude became entitlement. I started keeping the girls 5 days a week while Amanda showed houses and Michael worked late. Then weekends too, when they had couple time. I cooked dinners they barely thanked me for, did laundry that piled up faster than I could fold it, cleaned bathrooms that somehow always looked worse than when I'd started. And through it all, not once did they mention moving out. That afternoon, I picked up Sophie and Emma from the bus stop, listening to Sophie chatter about her science project while Emma tugged at my sleeve, asking if we could bake cookies. "Mommy never has time," she said, and something in my chest tightened. Back home, while the girls did homework at the dining table, my dining table, the one I'd inherited from my mother, I noticed an envelope on the counter. It was addressed to Michael and Amanda, from a property management company I didn't recognize. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that. But my name was on the lease for this house, and after 18 months of them treating my home like a hotel, I felt entitled to know what mail was arriving here. Inside was a monthly statement. Rent collected, $2,800. Property, 447 Maple Street. I read it 3 times, my pulse quickening with each pass. 447 Maple Street was their address. The house with the black mold. The house they'd fled from 18 months ago. They were renting it out. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and searched the address. There it was, listed on a rental site. Charming 4-bedroom home, completely renovated, $2,800 month. The mold remediation had been finished within 3 months of their move. The listing showed gleaming hardwood floors, updated kitchen, fresh paint, no evidence of any problem that would keep anyone from living there. They'd been collecting rent for over a year while living in my house, rent-free. I sat down hard, the chair scraping against the floor. Sophie looked up. "Grandma, are you okay?" "Fine, sweetheart," I managed. Just a little tired. But I wasn't fine. I was doing math in my head. The kind of math I'd done professionally for decades. $2,800 a month times 15 months of rental income. Over $40,000 they'd collected while paying me nothing. While I'd covered groceries for a family of 4, paid increased utility bills, sacrificed my space and privacy and peace, while Amanda smiled at me every morning and called me the best. That evening, Michael came home first, loosening his tie as he walked through the door. "Something smells good," he said, heading for the kitchen where I'd made pot roast, his favorite. "Michael," I said, keeping my voice level, "can we talk?" "Sure, Mom. Let me just change." He started toward the bedroom, my bedroom, but I stepped in front of him. "Now, please." Something in my tone made him stop. "Is everything okay?" I handed him the envelope. "You're renting out your house." His face went carefully blank. "Mom," for over a year, collecting $2,800 a month while living here free. "It's not that simple." "Then explain it to me," I said. "Explain how you told me you couldn't afford to fix the mold, that you needed a place to stay temporarily, and all this time you've been profiting off your rental property." Michael ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar from his childhood that it hurt to see. "Amanda thought it made more financial sense. The house needed work anyway, and you had the space. And you didn't think I deserved to know? To have a choice in becoming your unpaid landlord and nanny? You never asked for rent," he said, a note of defensiveness creeping in. "You never offered," I shot back. "And I shouldn't have to ask my son to contribute to housing his own family." Amanda's voice came from behind me. "What's going on?" I turned to face my daughter-in-law. This woman I'd welcomed into my life, my home. She stood in the doorway, perfectly composed in her real estate blazer, and I saw her clearly for perhaps the first time. Not as my son's wife, not as my granddaughter's mother, but as someone who had carefully, methodically taken advantage of kindness she mistook for weakness. "How long were you planning to stay?" I asked her directly. She blinked. "We've been over this, until we're ready to buy again." "Using the rental income you've been hiding from me?" Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Calculation, maybe, or the cold assessment of someone deciding whether to keep up a pretense. "We weren't hiding anything," she said smoothly. "You never asked about our finances, because you told me you were struggling." "We are," Amanda insisted. "Do you have any idea how expensive it is to maintain 2 properties? The rental barely covers the mortgage and upkeep on that place." I'd been an accountant long enough to know when numbers didn't add up. "Then show me the expenses." "Excuse me? If you're barely breaking even, show me the documentation, the mortgage statements, the maintenance costs, the property management fees." Amanda's jaw tightened. "I don't think I need to justify our financial decisions to you, Gisella." There it was, the truth beneath the smiles and the casual requests and the "you're the best" platitudes. I wasn't family to her. I was a resource to be managed. "You're living in my house," I said quietly. "You've been here 18 months. You use my utilities, eat my food, rely on me for childcare while you work and socialize and live your lives. I think I've earned the right to ask questions." Michael started to speak, but Amanda cut him off. "We pay for groceries sometimes." "Sometimes," I repeated. When you remember, when it's convenient. Mom, Michael said, can we not do this right now? I just got home. I'm exhausted. I'm 67 years old, I interrupted, my voice rising despite my attempt to stay calm. I worked for 37 years so I could retire and have peace. I'm exhausted, Michael. I've been exhausted for 18 months. Sophie appeared in the hallway, her face worried. Why is everyone yelling? The room went silent. I looked at my granddaughter, this sweet girl who I loved fiercely, who deserved better than to hear her family falling apart in the living room. We're just talking, honey, I said, softer. Go finish your homework. After she left, Amanda spoke, her voice ice cold. I think you're being incredibly dramatic. We're family. Family helps each other. Help goes both ways, I said. And we help you, Amanda countered. Michael fixes things around here. I organize. We keep you company. You'd be alone otherwise. The words landed like a slap. The implication that I should be grateful for their presence, that my loneliness was so pathetic that I should accept any terms to avoid it. Get out, I said. Michael's eyes widened. Mom, I want you out. Both of you. Find somewhere else to live. Amanda laughed. Actually laughed. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious in my life. We have a lease, Amanda said, pulling out her phone. Michael's been paying rent. We have tenant rights. I stared at her. What lease? She showed me her screen, a document I'd never seen. A rental agreement dated back to when they'd first moved in, signed with my name at the bottom, my signature. But I'd never signed it. That's fraud, I said, my voice shaking. That's protection, Amanda corrected. In case you tried to kick us out unreasonably. Which, look at that, you are. I looked at Michael, this son I'd raised to be honest and kind. You knew about this? His silence was answer enough. That night, after they'd retreated to my bedroom and closed the door, after I'd tucked Sophie and Emma into the guest room they shared, after I'd finally been alone in the living room where I slept on a couch in my own house, I made a decision. The next morning, I called the one lawyer I knew personally, Rebecca Torres, who'd handled my retirement paperwork. We'd stayed friendly, exchanged Christmas cards. When I explained the situation, her response was immediate. Don't say anything else to them. Don't sign anything. Come to my office this afternoon. Rebecca's office was in a small professional building downtown, the kind of place that smelled like coffee and old paper. She was younger than me by 15 years, sharp-eyed and efficient, with reading glasses that hung on a chain around her neck. Walk me through everything, she said, legal pad ready. I did. The initial move-in, the lack of discussion about duration or rent, the discovery of the rental income, the forged lease. Rebecca's expression grew darker with each detail. Do you have the original rental statement? She asked. I pulled it from my purse, and I took screenshots of their rental listing online. Good, she made notes. The forged lease is a serious problem. For them, we can challenge that easily, especially since you never received any rent payments. Do you have bank statements showing no deposits from them? 18 months worth, Rebecca smiled. You're still an accountant at heart. Okay, here's what we're going to do. She explained that the forged lease was not only invalid, but potentially criminal. That as the property owner, I had every right to establish a formal eviction process. That tenant rights only applied to legitimate tenancies, which this wasn't. But it's my son, I said, the words catching in my throat. Rebecca's expression softened. I know. And if you want to give them a chance to leave voluntarily, we can send a formal letter first, 30 days notice. But Gisella, you need to protect yourself. This isn't just about the money or the space. They forged a legal document with your signature. That's identity fraud. The full weight of it hit me then. Not just the exploitation, but the planning behind it. The premeditation. Amanda hadn't just taken advantage of a kind offer. She'd created a paper trail to ensure I couldn't take back what was mine. What else? I asked. What else should I be looking for? Rebecca leaned forward. Check your credit report. Check any financial accounts. Look through any paperwork they might have access to. If they forged one signature, they might have forged others. That evening, I went to the library and used their computer to pull my credit report, something I hadn't done in over a year. The screen loaded slowly, and when it finally appeared, I felt the room tilt. 2 credit cards I'd never opened, one with a $7,000 balance, another with $4,500, both in my name, both with my address, both with statements I'd never seen. I clicked through the transaction history with numb fingers. Home Depot, Pottery Barn, an electronics store, a jewelry store, all purchases from the last year and a half, all things I'd seen appear in my house and assumed Michael and Amanda had bought themselves. They'd been furnishing their life with my credit. I printed everything, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the pages. At the checkout desk, the librarian, a woman I'd known casually for years, touched my arm. "Are you all right, Gisella?" "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." Back home, the house was quiet. Michael and Amanda had taken the girls to dinner, a rare occurrence that now felt like a gift. I went through my file cabinet, the one in the basement where I kept important documents, and found it unlocked. I always kept it locked. Inside, my social security card was missing. So was my old passport. I called Rebecca from my cell phone, standing in my basement, surrounded by boxes of my life's paperwork. "They have my identity documents," I said when she answered. "Credit cards in my name? Over $11,000 in debt I didn't create." "Call the police," Rebecca said immediately. "This is beyond civil court now. This is criminal fraud. He's my son, and he's committing crimes against you." Her voice was firm but not unkind. "Gisella, I know this is painful, but you need to protect yourself, or this will get worse. Much worse." I hung up and stood in my basement. In the house I'd lived in for 32 years, the house I'd made a home through grief and hard work and fierce independence. And I made another choice. I called the police. The officer who came was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a careful way of writing everything down. He didn't judge, didn't question why I'd waited so long, just documented everything. The forged lease, the credit card fraud, the stolen identity documents. "We'll need to investigate," he said. "This could take some time. Do you feel safe here?" Did I? In my own home? Where my son and his wife had systematically stolen from me for a year and a half? "I'll be fine," I said. "I'm not the one who should be worried." When Michael and Amanda came home with the girls, the officer was still there. I watched the color drain from my son's face, watched Amanda's expression go carefully neutral. "What's going on?" Michael asked. "Mr. Hartman, I'm Officer Chen. We've received a report of identity theft and fraud. I need to ask you and your wife some questions." What happened next felt like watching a play. Amanda's immediate denials, her pivot to confusion and hurt. "Identity theft? Gisella, what are you talking about? We would never." "The credit cards," I said. "In my name. The forged lease. My missing documents." Michael's face crumpled. "Mom, I can explain." "Not to me," I said. To him. The officer interviewed them separately, then together. By the end, Amanda had gone silent, her lawyer face on. Michael kept trying to catch my eye, but I couldn't look at him. "Not yet. We'll be following up," Officer Chen said as he left. "Ma'am, I'd recommend changing your locks and securing your financial accounts immediately." That night, I slept in my own bedroom for the first time in 18 months. Michael and Amanda took the couch. Neither of them spoke to me. In the morning, I found Sophie sitting on the porch steps, her backpack beside her. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. I sat down next to her, my knees protesting. "Your parents made some mistakes, big ones. But you and Emma aren't in trouble, sweetheart. Mom said you called the cops on us. I called them because someone stole from me, used my name to buy things without asking. That's against the law." Sophie was quiet for a long moment. "Was it Mom?" The question hung between us. She was 11, old enough to understand more than adults wanted to give her credit for. "That's for the police to figure out," I said gently. You're not mean, Sophie said suddenly. Mom tells Dad you're being mean and unreasonable, but you're not. You just want your house back. I pulled her close, this granddaughter who saw clearly what her parents refused to acknowledge. I love you and your sister so much. That will never change, no matter what happens. Rebecca helped me file a formal eviction notice, separate from the criminal investigation. 30 days, legally served, with documentation of the forged lease as grounds for immediate termination of any claimed tenancy. Michael tried to fight it, or rather, Amanda did, hiring a lawyer who sent aggressive letters about tenant rights and wrongful eviction. But Rebecca had done her homework, without proof of rent payments, without a legitimate lease, without any leg to stand on. Their case dissolved. On day 28, they started packing. Michael came to me while Amanda was out. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For which part? I asked. The lying about the mold? The rental income you hid? The lease you forged? The credit cards you opened in my name? Amanda thought. I don't want to hear what Amanda thought. I interrupted. What did you think, Michael, when you watched me sleep on the couch in my own house? When you let me take care of your children while you both worked? When you saw those credit card bills come in with my name on them? What did you think? He had no answer. I raised you better than this, I said, and my voice broke. I raised you to be honest and kind, to stand up for what's right. When did you stop being that person? I love her, he said. Like that explained everything. Love doesn't mean losing yourself. It doesn't mean letting someone hurt your mother. He left the room, and I let him go. On the day they moved out, I sat in my car down the street, unable to watch. Mrs. Chen from next door called me when the moving truck pulled away. They're gone, she said. I'm coming over. She arrived with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. I knew something was off, she said, as we sat in my reclaimed living room. The way she talked to you, like you worked for her. I should have seen it sooner. You loved your son. There's no shame in that, but there was pain in it. Deep, aching pain that sat in my chest like a stone. The credit card companies, once presented with the police report and evidence of fraud, removed the charges. It took weeks of phone calls and paperwork, but eventually my credit was restored. The house felt enormous and quiet without the girls' laughter, without the constant chaos. I cleaned every room, reclaiming spaces that had stopped feeling like mine. I donated the things they'd left behind, the items bought with my stolen credit. I changed the locks. I set up a security system, and slowly, I started to feel like myself again. 3 months after they left, Sophie called me from a friend's phone. Grandma? Can I come visit? My heart clenched. Does your mom know you're calling? I don't care. I miss you. We arranged supervised visits through Rebecca's office. Neutral territory where I could see my granddaughters without engaging with Amanda. Michael came once, apologized again, told me they were living in their rental property now, that things were hard. I didn't ask how hard. I'd learned to protect myself, but Sophie kept calling, and Emma started writing me letters, her second-grade handwriting careful and crooked. I love you, Grandma. I miss baking cookies. On a Saturday, 6 months after they'd moved out, I invited the girls over, just them, picked up by Mrs. Chen, who'd agreed to supervise. We baked cookies, chocolate chip with extra chips the way they liked. We sat on the porch and I told them stories about when their dad was little. Was he always like this? Sophie asked. Like, lying and stuff? No, I said honestly. He was a good boy, a kind boy. Sometimes people change when they're with the wrong person. Sometimes they forget who they really are. Will he remember? I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so. As the sun set and Mrs. Chen came to take them home, Emma hugged me tight. I'm going to come back, right? This isn't the last time. You can come back whenever you want, I promised. This is always your grandma's house. You'll always have a place here. After they left, I sat on my porch, in the chair that was mine, in the house that was mine, surrounded by silence that was finally peaceful instead of lonely. I thought about calling Michael, thought about extending some olive branch, some path toward reconciliation. But I wasn't ready yet. Maybe I never would be. And that had to be okay. I'd spent 67 years being who everyone needed me to be. A wife, a mother, a provider, a helper. I'd given and given until there was almost nothing left. Now, I was learning to be something else. Someone with boundaries. Someone who could say no. Someone who valued herself enough to demand respect. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when Michael first brought Amanda home, when Sophie and Emma were born, when I dreamed of being the kind of grandmother who was always available, always welcoming. But it was the ending I needed. The one where I chose myself. And maybe that was the greatest lesson I could teach those girls. That love doesn't mean martyrdom. That kindness doesn't require self-sacrifice. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. The porch light flickered on as darkness fell, and I stayed there, watching fireflies emerge in the yard. My house, my life, reclaimed. And for the first time in 18 months, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Peace. If you're reading this, and it sounds familiar, if you've felt that slow erosion of self in the name of helping family, if you've wondered when your generosity became their expectation, I want you to know this. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to say enough. You're allowed to choose yourself, even when it hurts, even when it costs you, even when everyone tells you that family means never setting limits. Your life is yours. Don't let anyone steal it from you. One small compromise at a time. Because before you know it, you'll wake up sleeping on a couch in your own house, wondering how you got there. Take it back. All of it. You deserve nothing less.